Every company saw this day coming, but few were ready. In April 2025, a 145% tariff shattered decades of China-dependent strategy. In boardrooms around the world, it wasn't just panic. It was the beginning of a global reset in manufacturing logic. Who can still deliver scale, speed, and certainty in this fractured world? Let's break it down. April 2025. Overnight, Chinese-made goods face 145% tariff hikes in U.S. stores. Supply chain dashboards flash red. Boardrooms hold emergency meetings. This isn't just another policy change, it's the collapse of 30 years of global manufacturing logic. As companies desperately search for alternatives, 3 countries emerge as frontrunners. Vietnam promises speed, India offers scale, and Mexico provides proximity. But the fine print tells a different story, one where each solution conceals strategic compromises. While Apple and Nike began shifting supply chains years ago, most companies hesitated. China's ecosystem was simply too efficient. Now, post-COVID disruptions, US-China tensions, and a 145% tariff shock in 2025 have forced their hand. This isn't the beginning of decoupling, but its irreversible acceleration. To understand where global manufacturing is heading, let's examine each of these alternatives. Let's start with the fastest mover, Vietnam, where speed comes with strings attached. On the surface, Vietnam checks every box. Labor at $2.16 per hour, 24 to 29-day shipping to the US, and privileged access to Asian markets. On paper, this beats China's $3.62 per hour average and 35-day sea lanes. But savings disappear if key components still ship from China, leading to double handling, customs delays, and increased cost volatility. However, government trade data shows over 40% of Vietnam's manufacturing inputs still originate in China. When Shanghai's ports clogged in early 2024, Samsung's Hanoi operations faced weeks of delays, with industry analysts estimating $230 million plus in lost output, according to the Nikkei Asia. Even Apple's much-publicized shift tells the real story. While Tim Cook announces iPhones from India and iPads from Vietnam, reports indicate these factories remain dependent on Chinese components. The uncomfortable truth? Assembly lines can leave China, but supply chains can't, yet. And even Samsung, long seen as a diversification success story, is showing signs of strain. In response to new US tariffs and China's growing chip leverage, the South Korean tech giant has begun exploring a significant shift toward India for semiconductor and smartphone production. India. Scale meets bureaucracy. If Vietnam's challenge is dependency, then surely massive India, with its over 500 million consumers, offers true independence. The numbers make a strong case. Labor at $1.78 per hour, a rapidly expanding electronics sector, and government incentives totaling $24 billion. Advantages of India. 1. Labor costs, $1.78 per hour lower than China's. 2. Government incentives, $24 billion, driving large-scale production. 3. Growing market. India's consumer market continues to grow exponentially. India's production-linked incentive, PLI scheme, has successfully attracted Apple and Foxconn. Reform-minded states like Tamil Nadu can now approve factories in as little as 30 days, but the national average still requires 14 clearances and 18 months for land disputes. One reason Apple's India production remains under 25%, despite years of effort. However, India's growing consumer market and its push for infrastructural reforms present long-term potential for large-scale production. Samsung's reported pivot to India for advanced chips and smartphones signals that the country may be transitioning from alternative to anchor. Mexico. Proximity with a price. With Asia's options constrained by either dependency or red tape, many companies are looking closer to home, where Mexico's promise comes with its own sobering realities. Labor costs average $2.35 per hour. Shipping times are as short as 10 hours, and nearshoring reduces geopolitical risks. But corporate disclosures reveal a more complex picture. For instance, General Motors' 2024 filings show that factories near the US-Mexico border now allocate 3 to 5% of their operational budgets to security and stabilization, directly linked to escalating cartel-related violence. Additionally, the Brookings Institution's 2024 report highlights ongoing regulatory uncertainties and compliance challenges within the USMCA framework, which have been exacerbated by recent US tariff policies and trade frictions. These factors contribute to increased operational costs and complexity for manufacturers operating in North America. China, reinventing the game. Even as companies explore these imperfect alternatives, China is transforming in ways that could render today's relocation strategies obsolete. While the world focuses on China losing low-end manufacturing, Beijing is executing a strategic pivot. Today, China produces 75% of the world's lithium batteries, 60% of drone components, and 90% of rare earth refining. Foxconn had previously aimed to automate up to 70% of its Zhengzhou operations, but recent reports highlight setbacks in achieving full automation. As China shifts from traditional manufacturing to high-tech sectors like AI, semiconductors, and robotics, new job opportunities are emerging, though the pace of replacement remains unclear. China is transitioning from being the world's factory to becoming the brain of global manufacturing, with a growing focus on advanced industries supported by government initiatives. This shifting landscape explains why even companies expanding beyond China can't escape its manufacturing gravity. Take Gore-Tex, the AirPods maker, which is investing $280 million in a new Vietnamese facility to produce consumer electronics products. Despite this expansion, Gore-Tex continues to rely heavily on Chinese components, underscoring the challenges of reducing dependency on China's manufacturing ecosystem. It's a similar story with Tesla. Even their Berlin Gigafactory, a symbol of Western reshoring, has been associated with Chinese battery tech from CATL. This highlights that while factories can relocate, replicating China's comprehensive manufacturing ecosystem remains a significant challenge. The age of easy globalization is over. What remains is a complex chessboard where Vietnam's dependency, India's delays, and Mexico's hidden costs represent the least bad options, while China quietly dominates the technologies of tomorrow. But there are even more factors to consider, like political stability, labor conditions, environmental concerns, and the specific industry needs, each influencing the decision-making process for global manufacturers. In our next video, we'll dive into these often overlooked aspects and explore how these factors affect long-term business sustainability. If you found this analysis useful, let me know in the comments. Which compromise would you choose? And if you've seen a viable China alternative, I genuinely value your insights.